A warm welcome to Diski Talk with Luyolo. If you're tuning in for the very first time, I do ask that you please subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you've been a part of this journey, I hope you thoroughly enjoy this episode. So, on today's episode, I discuss all things Dstv Premiership action as Mamelodi Sundowns take on Stellenbosch. So when you have a look at it then, the last time out, both teams did play then to a 1-1 draw. So when you have a look at Mamelodi Sundowns, they played 1-1 against Kaizer Chiefs, and then with Stellenbosch, it was 1-1 against Maritzburg United. Coming up into this one then, both teams will be looking then to go one better from a draw to a win. However, let's then have a look at the tactical pre-match analysis. So when you have a look at the blue team will represent Mamelodi Sundowns, and then the red team will represent Stellenbosch. So having a look at Mamelodi Sundowns then, it is key to note that they have been facing quite a few injury problems, especially then within the heart of defense. So against Kaizer Chiefs then, we did see them change their system. So in goals then, the last time out, they did start with Riyad Petersen, but I wouldn't be surprised then to see either Mwini or Onyango coming back in goals if they are fully fit. But we can go with Petersen in goals. So this is where it gets very interesting then, because Mamelodi Sundowns then in possession of the ball, they set up in somewhat of a 3-4-3, at times 3-4-2-1, and whenever then they didn't have the ball, then that's when you'd see Jali slotting in, and then it would go to somewhat of a 4-3-3, so it would go to somewhat of that shape. But whenever then they were looking to build up, you'd have Lebusa going there, then you'd have Jali there, you'd have Lungu there, and then you'd have the two wing backs. So that's what was very interesting and very dynamic about how they went about things and how they imposed themselves against Kaizer Chiefs. So coming up into this encounter then, I wouldn't be surprised if they adopted the same approach, especially considering then that they do have problems at the heart of defense. So the last time out then, you did have Divine Lunga, who started as the left-sided centre-back. With Divine Lunga, then this is a player who I must say that I have been impressed by his performances as of late, especially in the last game. I think that he was very, very solid within this position. And when you have a look at him, then this is a player then, by trade, he is a fullback. So the beauty then about Divine Lunga playing as a left-sided centre-back is that whenever the ball does get into those wide, deep defensive pockets with regards to him being in 1v1 situations, is that he's well adept to deal with the 1v1. So if he does get a quick player within that pocket of space and within that channel, he can deal with it because naturally he is a fullback, and fullbacks then are more comfortable in the wider areas of the pitch within those deep defensive pockets of space. So with this then he can deal with these type of situations, and what I like about him then is that he's able then to progress the ball from this left hand side, and he offers then Mamelodi Sundowns, when they do play with the back three, that ball circulation from right to left, and with regards then looking to progress the ball. He's also a player then who is very tall, so is a player then who gives Mamelodi Sundowns that aerial presence within the opposition box, and whenever then they are defending their own box as well. So that is Divine Lunga there. You do have Musa Lebusa, and then you've got Andile Jali. So when you look at Andile Jali then, he has quite a specialized role by virtue of the fact that it is quite the transitional and dynamic role, because then, like I did mention then, without the ball, you would see him coming into midfield. You'd see Lebusa there. As soon as they look to build up, he does then give them the build-up base of a 3. So when he does give them that build-up base of a 3, it also offers that natural ball circulation by virtue of the fact that both Lunga and Lebusa are both left-footed, but when it gets to Jali, he is right-footed, so he can look to open up on the right-hand side within this deep pocket of space and look then to advance the ball going forward. And then moving on then right along, when you do have a look at the midfield, the last time out, they did start with Maboe, and they started with Nkulisi as well. So when you look at Maboe, then this is a player who is coming back then from a long-term injury, and a player then who I think at times he has struggled a bit. He hasn't been on on the tempo with regards to how then he looks to complete his passes and how then he looks to offer Mamelodi Sundowns that control within the heart of midfield. And I do think that is largely because he is coming back from a long-term injury. So these games at the end of the season are actually very, very vital for him to get back into the thick of things. And then when you have a look, then you do have Siphelele Mkhulisi. So this is a player then who I like very much within the Dstv Premiership, and a player then who offers so much quality for this Mamelodi Sundowns side, especially then when you have a look at the fact that he is a specialist as a number 8 and he is the best ball carrier within the country. So this is a player then who offers a lot of energy within the heart of midfield, as he is an energizer for this Mamelodi Sundowns side, and he's also a ball carrier. So as a personality within the heart of midfield, he does offer quite a lot of qualities, you know, because very comfortable on the ball, he can carry the ball, he offers that creativity in deep pockets of space, he can look to progress with the ball, he does play those penetrative passes which then break the opposition lines. A player then who's got so much energy, who can drift to the right hand side at times, occupy the right side of the half space, occupy vertical zone 3, occupy the left side of the half space, and does tend to push up at times, does also have that penetrative pass, and is a player then who's well and able with regards to progressing the ball for this Mamelodi Sundowns side, and very good then at picking up that ball within those tight pockets of space as well. He knows when to retain it, he knows when to circulate it, and when to slow things down. And then when you have a look then at the left wing back, as the left wing back, you do then have Aubrey Mudiba. So when you have a look at Aubrey Mudiba, this is a player then who is in fine form, as he has been scoring quite a number of goals in recent weeks, and the player then who's contributed so much for this Mamelodi Sundowns side, especially then going forward. So when you do have a look at Aubrey Mudiba, when he does go forward, this is a player who does offer them the width within vertical zone 1, which is the left-sided channel. And when you have a look at him then, this is a player who's very comfortable, so he can deliver those quality crosses into the box. However, with Aubrey Mudiba, because then by trade he is a much more advanced player, so he can look to come and invert and play within that left-sided half space. So he can then occupy the deep left-sided half space. You know, he can also look to penetrate through the left-sided half space. But if they do play then a 3-4-3, then he would stay a lot wider and occupy the left wide channel within vertical zone 1, where he's offering the width then for this Mamelodi Sundowns side. And then having a look then at the right wing back, you do have Mudau. So when you have a look at Mudau, this is a player who I think has had a great season for Mamelodi Sundowns, and a player then who I think then is a nominee for Defender of the Season. With Mudau then, this is a quality 1v1 defensive player, especially then within those deep defensive pockets. And when you do have a look at this system, it does allow him to move a lot further forward, because then you do have the defensive cover, which is Uchali, and also then in build-up phase, Mudau becomes very important, because he must then offer the width on the right-hand side within vertical zone 5, where then he's looking to stretch the pitch and go high and wide. And then when you have a look then at the two number 10s, you do have Serino, and then you do have Themba Zwane. So when you have a look then at Themba Zwane, this is a player then who does have 7 assists for this Mamelodi Sundowns side, and a player then who is their playmaker. He does get them to play, and a player then who offers so much quality, and a player then who isn't just very good when it comes then to ensuring that he controls the game for Mamelodi Sundowns side, where he progresses the ball and he breaks into the final third, but he also can contribute with goals as well. And when you look at him then, he does offer this Mamelodi Sundowns side that positional superiority with regards to how he looks to position himself in between the lines and take that ball on the back foot. Also then offers them that qualitative superiority as well. And then with Serino, he is also then a very creative player. And what you do then see with this Mamelodi Sundowns side, especially then with the two number 10s, you see a lot of positional rotations, and you see a lot of positional play with them drifting into different pockets of space. So at times they can look to overload the same half space, you know, where then you find that they have overloaded and they have that numerical advantage within the left side of half space, within the center of midfield as well, where they're looking to have that numerical advantage as well. And then up front, you do have Peter Shalulile. So this is Mamelodi Sundowns then when they did play with their 3-4-3 system. However, they also do have other players then. So when you have a look at it then, you do have Lyle K, you do have Kapinga, you do have Ralani. So those are type of players then that could always come into this Mamelodi Sundowns side. You do have Mayema as well, you know, if he doesn't start, who can always play, if Serino doesn't start, Mayema can always start in one of those positions, in one of those number 10 positions. So those are the type of players then that Mamelodi Sundowns do have to their disposal. However, when you have a look at it then, a key player coming up into this encounter, I do think that Shalulile will be key in this encounter, especially considering then that he is trying then to finish on a high with regards to stretching that lead at the top, with regards to the golden boot as well. However, also key to note then, when you do have a look at Shalulile, this is a player then who does at times look to drift wide. So at times he does start in a wide position and then look to break into the box. So this is a player then who is very dangerous. He offers a lot of mobility for this Mamelodi Sundowns side. Also, what's also key to note then is that this front three, it is a fluid front three, and they do look to rotate a lot of the times. And with this front three then, they do look to press high up. And as soon as Mamelodi Sundowns lose the ball, they look to press. And this then becomes their offensive scheme within the opposition half, where then it does go to a 3-2-5, you know, and Mamelodi Sundowns become very, very aggressive within the opposition half. At times then, you could also see it go to somewhat of a 3-6-1, where then you've got 6 players within that channel. So that is Mamelodi Sundowns then, and coming up into this encounter against Stellenbosch, Peter Shalulile will be the key player. However, let's have a look at this Stellenbosch side with regards to how they look to set up, with regards to the personality and from a tactical perspective. So when you do have a look at Stellenbosch, I think they've had a good season, and I think this is a team that keeps growing and keeps improving underneath the tutelage of Steve Barker. So in goals then, you do have Sage Stevens. As a back four, you've got Van Roy as the right back. 2 centre backs, you've got De Goota, and then you've got Zita Macheke, who is now Zita Kwinaka, and then at left back you've got Van Heerden. However, it is key to note then that Mkaba has been playing as a left-sided centre back alongside De Goota, so he could very well come back into this lineup. However, let's have a look at the fullbacks then. So we'll start with the right back. When you have a look at Dino Van Roy, then this is a fullback who's been doing very well this season for this Stellenbosch side, as he has scored a couple of goals for this Stellenbosch side. So with Dino Van Roy, then he is a player who's got lots of energy and lots of speed. So he does look to offer this Stellenbosch side the width on the right-hand side within vertical zone 5, where then he does look to overlap, and he has also scored goals. So a lot of the times he does look to make those underlapping runs or the half-space run, where then he penetrates into the box and he finds himself then within the box where he is able to finish for this Stellenbosch side. So you've got Dino Van Roy, who is a very, very quick player. And then when you have a look at Van Heerden, he is the left back. He does look to offer the width on the left-hand side as well. When you have a look at him, then he, with regards to his technical skill set, is a player who possesses so much, because then from free kicks and open play, he delivers quality balls into the box. And then when you move on then right along and have a look at the heart of midfield. So within the heart of midfield then, you do have Mtetwa, and then you do have Jabbar, who plays as a double pivot. So with this Stellenbosch side then, they have played, as of late, they have played a 4-2-3-1. And in the beginning of the season, they did play a 3-4-3. They can also play a 4-3-3. But it has predominantly been a 4-2-3-1 within the second half of the season. So with Mtetwa and with Jabbar, then within the heart of midfield, they are a very, very solid base. And they serve a dual purpose, because in possession of the ball, they do look to rotate the ball. So when you have a look at Mtetwa, he is the one who looks to circulate the ball a lot more and rotate it a lot more. With Jabbar, he is the one who's got the much more progressive pass with regards to progressing Stellenbosch from build-up phase into consolidation phase and into the final third at times. With Mtetwa, he does tend to look to sit. So at times, you will find that Jabbar does push. Mtetwa then will look to sit in front of the back four. And then when you have a look at the most advanced midfielder within this midfield three, who plays behind the striker, you do have Adams. So when you have a look at Adams, then this is a player then who offers so much creativity for this Stellenbosch side. especially then with regards to him occupying the right-sided half space, left-sided half space, vertical zone 3, within those tight pockets of space, where then he's looking to take the ball and influence play for this Stellenbosch side. A player then who does also have those penetrative passes into the final third. At times, he does look to make those late runs into the box. However, sometimes what you will see from this Stellenbosch side is that it can also then sort of go to a double 8, where Mteto will look to sit deep, and then Adams can occupy the right-sided half space, and then you do have Jabbar pushing up into the left-sided half space. So at times, in open play, you would see them facilitating a three-man midfield from that perspective. Then most times then it does sort of go to a 4-2-3-1 where you do have the double pivot. So Jabbar then becomes very key with regards to how then he can become the second 8 and then how then he becomes the second 6 within the double pivot. So that is Stellenbosch then within the heart of midfield. And then the last time out then they did start with a fluid front 3, because then off the right they did start with Ortiz, they started with Dupré up front, and then they started with Mendieta coming off the left. So when you do have a look at this Stellenbosch side then, this is a team then that have quite a number of options, you know, especially then with regards to the final third and how they look to impose themselves from an offensive perspective. So they do have Judas Musiamedi, you know, they do have Dingba, they also then do have other players that can always come into this Stellenbosch side and look to make an impact. So there's many ways in which this Stellenbosch side can look to set up. So if they do want a fluid front 3 that are looking then to penetrate into the final third with regards to speed, and are also looking then to press Mamelodi Sundowns right high up with their energy, they can go with a fluid front 3 where then they, like the last time out, they've got Ortiz, they've got Dupré, and then they've got Mendieta as well. Like I mentioned, off the bench, you do have Dingba, you do have Wasim Isaacs, you do have Judas Musiamedi as well. So when you do have a look at this Stellenbosch side, the key player then is Dupré, especially considering then how much quality he does offer for this Stellenbosch side, not just in possession of the ball, but out of possession with regards to how he looks to press. So the last time out then, they did play 1-1, where they did play then at the Donny Craven Stadium. And what was very interesting is that this Stellenbosch side, they made it very uncomfortable for this Mamelodi Sundowns side with regards to how they were looking to build up from the back and work it into consolidation phase. So what Stellenbosch did then at the Donny Craven Stadium, they looked to press Mamelodi Sundowns high, and they looked to unsettle them and ensure that Mamelodi Sundowns couldn't get their rhythm going with regards to their free-flowing passing game of football. So for Mamelodi Sundowns then, the key player will be Peter Shalulile. For Stellenbosch, it will be Dupré. So when you do have a look at this encounter and you have a look at both teams coming up into this one, the last time out, they did play to 1-1 draws, but this time around then, going to the end of the season, they will be looking then to pick up 3 points. Ladies and gentlemen, do let me know, what do you make of this encounter between Mamelodi Sundowns and Stellenbosch, where I think then Mamelodi Sundowns will win this game 2-1. Thank you very much for tuning in yet another special episode of Diski Talk with Luyolo. Signing out.